So you probably read the title and kind of thought, what the hell? What's this guy talking about? There's benefits to depression. And the truth is there is. And that's what I want to get into today in terms of this Facebook Live event. Or if you're watching the recording, either way is fine. You might even be watching this on YouTube after the fact. So in answer to that question, is there benefits to depression? There actually is. There's a number of side benefits. Before I get into that, I want to welcome you to my page if you're watching this on the page. If you're watching this on YouTube, fantastic. I want to welcome you as well to the channel. For those who don't know, my name is Shawn Carpenter. I'm from the Ollin group of coaches, and I'm a results coach, a strategic interventionist coach, certified under Tony Robbins. Normally, I work with people one-on-one to create breakthroughs, transformation in their business, in their relationships, and especially in their, in problem areas, overcoming problem areas like procrastination, like anxiety, but especially things like depression. And so that's what we're talking about here today. Now, the reason it comes up today, I'm actually doing this. I'm re-recording. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm re-recording this because I went to do this live on Monday, a whole bunch of technical glitches, but every Monday, give or take, unless it's a holiday or something like that, I'm going to be here on the page. So I have a Facebook page and a Facebook group. I'm going to be on the page sharing with you strategies, methodologies, processes to create transformation. And, this is I've used these with numerous people. Obviously, we're all individuals. We all have different ways of going about things. We all have different things that work for us, that will work for us, different circumstances. But, I've used these types of strategies, methodologies, and processes to create change for numerous people in all kinds of levels. Like I say, in terms of their business, so elevating their business, in terms of relationships. So it'd be like igniting passion in their relationships or saving relationships sometimes. Or like I say, breaking through the problem areas that really can be, what's the word I'm looking for, can be so overbearing that it can keep us, I'm having a brain fart here, but can keep us stuck in place, that will stop all forward progress in our lives. Now, the reason I want to talk about depression, it's a topic that I'm really, passionate about, but this time of year, Christmas, I absolutely love Christmas. For me, for a lot of people out there, Christmas is very magical, full of joy and wonder, and regardless of beliefs, regardless of religious beliefs, spiritual beliefs, or otherwise, there's just like this, I find, anyway, there's like this magic in the air, and, it's almost palpable. And so for me, it's really about that joyfulness, that magic, that play, that wonder. It's like my coach, Tony Robbins, he talks, he has a saying, he says, the secret to living is giving. Now, there's a caveat. We want to learn how to give unconditionally. We want to learn how to give without expectation. But when we can do that, it is just absolutely amazing how it transforms our relationships, our lives. It's something I'll get into later on. So every month, like I said, normally this is on a Monday. I'm doing this on a Thursday because of the technical glitches I went through this previous Monday. But reason I want to bring up Christmas, a lot of times, a lot of people experience so much magic, so much joy, but so many people also experience the stress of the holidays, the stress of shopping, the stress of the financial burden for a lot of people, the stress of the busyness, so on and so forth. There's so many different ways and experiences at this time of year. So many other people will experience depression this time of year. And that's why I wanted to talk on this topic right away. Whether it's a momentary depression, whether it's a seasonal depression, a clinical depression, or even a suicidal depression. I'm reminded of a client of mine who's been with me for a number of years. I've had quite a few clients that, because of the results that they generate in their lives, they just rise to new levels over and over and over again. So they'll be with me for years. Anyway, when he started, he didn't even actually realize it at the time. We worked at it a different way. But he was kind of in a rut in his business, and that's primarily why he started. We've worked on every area of his life since. His wife works with me as well. But I have a lot of couples like that. That's how they start. One partner will start, then the other person will follow suit. But he started, and we were talking about this, just recently, how he realized when I shared the benefits of depression, the side benefits I'm going to share with you today, he realized that he himself, when he started with me, was in a very depressed state. And he overcame it very quickly. Over the course of it wasn't long. It took a couple of months, and it was like a total change of mindset, change of emotional state, and a change of results. His business picked up dramatically. But he realized that he was depressed when he started with me. And since doing the work, since really working on himself, not just goals and action plan and so forth, but really doing the work, what I call the work, he dramatically transformed and really obliterated that depressed pattern that he found himself in. And a big part of that was that he understood all the side benefits that he was getting from being depressed, and he found other ways to elevate these benefits, to receive much more positive benefit, so he didn't need to go into that depressed state anymore. And I'll get into that. Before I kind of share all that with you, if you're suffering from depression, or if you know somebody who is, it can be a very serious, very debilitating mental affliction that I think at different points most people do experience, but to experience it consistently is very serious. And so I really, really encourage you, if you are experiencing that yourself, or if you know somebody who is, seek out some professional help. Get some help somewhere, whether it's a therapist, a psychiatrist, a counselor, or a qualified coach. But seek out some intervention and find some support. So some people that can help you through those times. Okay, this is very, very important. So I really urge you to do that, you guys. I've been able to, over the course of the past, about 6 years that I've had a coaching practice. And I did, coaching things before that too, but a full-time practice. I've been able to help a lot of people overcome depression specifically, along with other problem areas, even when they've been on medication for it. So many of us struggle, whether it's momentary or a long-term thing, myself included. So I know what it is to be depressed. I know what it is to move through it. And it's something that I struggled with for a long, long time. So it's not something foreign to me. I can relate more than you really know. When we look at kind of the baseline of depression, if we talk about sadness, unfortunately for a lot of the human population, sadness is a great connector for all of us. It's really, it can really bring us together a lot easier than happiness can, when we talk about what's wrong, when we talk about our problems, when we seek out other people to share this with. If we really want to connect with somebody, well, tell them your troubles, right? A lot of times you'll gain sympathy, you'll gain compassion, you'll gain connection, camaraderie, things like that. And a lot of us will do that and continue to do that. But if we flip it around and talk about our success or our happiness, sometimes people will listen, but a lot of times people will find it to be boastful or arrogant, and they're less likely to connect. They'll kind of tune you out after a little bit. You probably experienced some of that, or at least whether you've been on one end or the other. You talk about your success, or you hear somebody talk about their successes. People get jealous or envious. Sometimes it'll be very supportive. That's fantastic. But in general, we find it a lot easier as human beings to connect through sadness. And so one of the things that we, like I said, is people tend to experience these side benefits by holding on to their depression, to their despair. When we hold on to it unintentionally, it's not like we do so purposefully or consciously, but we hold on to it. We experience all these side benefits. And these side benefits tend to feel like it offers temporary, and it does offer temporary relief from the depression at times. But long term, as I'm sure you can figure out, long term it's extremely destructive for the depressed person, but also for everybody around them, how it affects them. It's very, very destructive for the people close to us if we're suffering from depression. So it's really critical, I've found, that we need to develop the strength, the inward strength, the resourcefulness to be able to overcome. And to do that, we need to have what I call a compelling future. We need to have a future that if we move towards it would bring us a greater sense of fulfillment, of real fulfillment, something that we can identify, something we can resonate with. And so this is one of the first parts that I work on with people. When we're in pain, it's very difficult to see our options, very, very hard to see our options. We have to work hard at it to even begin to see that. And to see, what else do I want to say about it? To see what is truly available for us. So we have to work really hard at it, but we need to find what's available, what's truly available, not just what's on the surface, but what truly is offered to us in life, what we're capable of. We need to find that direction. We need to create a new sense of meaning in our lives, a new purpose, or connect with a deeper purpose. And this is our pathway through that depression. Whatever the loss, whatever the grief, whatever the supposed reasons for our depression, one of the best cures I've found, and I just did this with a client yesterday actually, one of the best cures I've found is for us to stop focusing so much on ourselves, on what's missing in our lives, on what's not being done for us, on what was done to us in the past, whatever it is, what we did in the past. We need to stop focusing on ourselves and focus on truly, not in the way of self-sacrifice, but on truly helping others. Sacrifice is like an inverted way of being selfish, by the way. But we want to focus on truly helping others, on being generous with our love. Not with an expectation of anything in return, but truly giving, focusing on contribution in our lives. So it's one of the ways through it. And like I said, a compelling future is the other part of that. There's several parts, but the compelling future is another key, critical piece. And that compelling future is always available to you. It's just hard to see when we're stuck in that depression, that despair. So we need to be able to stop the panic, the sadness, the deadness, however we experience it. We need to find a way to climb out of that pit. We need to find what's more valuable than your pain. I'm going to say that again. You need to find what's more valuable than the pain that you're in. Or if you know somebody who's suffering, it might not be you listening to this. And if it's somebody we know of, we need to find a way to communicate, or to communicate with them. That's how I want to say it. In order to communicate with them, we need to really understand what that emotion's actually doing for them. We need to in order to make them feel cared about, in order to make anybody feel cared about, we need to be understood as human beings. So can you make them feel more cared about? Can you help them, because one of the things with depression is when we share, when we look for that sympathy can feel like we're being cared about, and it can release us from, responsibilities in our lives. So if we can help people feel cared about by understanding them, then we help them break through. Now, if we're suffering ourselves, then it's about understanding why we're holding on to this depression, why we're still there. I've seen a lot of people on medication even still feeling depressed, and there's reasons for that. Ultimately, we need to understand that depression and despair is actually an imposition on other people in our lives. That ultimately, what we're looking for, that love, that caring, we actually erode their sympathy. We erode their trust in us. We even erode their interest in us over time. You know, another client of mine was dealing with his sister who suffered long-term depression and really didn't do much to get herself out of it. You know, very, you know, wonderful lady, very likable, very spiritual, had all kinds of practices, but would just remain in that depression. It was very difficult for her to get out. Sorry, it looks like my live video cut out. I'm going to cut back in here. I don't know what's going on. Give me one sec, guys. Okay, so on the YouTube, this is going to be carrying on, but on the live video, I'm not sure. I'm going to have to figure out why Facebook Live is not working for me properly. It kind of cuts out here and there. Anyway, I was sharing this story about this client's sister, and she was suffering from long-term depression. And he just couldn't relate to her. He couldn't connect with her. He kind of avoided her in many ways, but he didn't really want that. It's not what he wanted to do. And so I helped him understand the benefits to depression, and he started to understand his sister more. And as he did that, the coolest thing happened. It's not like the relationship's perfect, but he came back to report to me several times over about how much more they're doing together. You know, that he was able to help her, you know, get outside that depression without even really talking about it. It's really cool to watch. And so what I want to do is share the benefits with you. So I do hope you have your pen, your paper ready, you know, however you're recording it. But this is really, really important to understand. Again, if you suffer from it, if you know somebody who does, these are the, you know, emotional, psychological side benefits that we all tend to experience. And we might experience one of them, two of them, three of them, four of them. We might experience all 8 of them. So I'm going to go through them. The very first one is that despair basically reduces the sense of guilt because it feels like a form of penance for us. So despair reduces the sense of guilt because it feels like a form of penance. The second benefit of despair, like I already said to you really, is that despair brings sympathy from other people, and that sympathy often feels like love. Now let me ask you something. If things are going well, how much sympathy do you gain? None, right? And so if our way of receiving love, if we equate it with sympathy, and things start going well and we don't get that sympathy, we're not going to feel loved anymore. So what do? We go back into depression, so we gain that sympathy, which to us is love. Again, there's ways through this, but I just want to share the benefits. The third benefit is that despair justifies abandoning relationships with family and friends. And by abandoning, I mean not necessarily physically, although quite often, you know, people will withdraw. But you might even be physically in the presence of people and still be withdrawn. And you can sense that off somebody, even if they put on a smiley face. So it justifies abandoning relationships with friends and family because there's this idea that the friends and family will be better off without the desperate person. So that's the third benefit. The fourth benefit is that despair, and I mention this, is an excuse for avoiding responsibilities and obligations in our lives. So it gives us an excuse. The fifth one is that despair makes it difficult for significant others in our lives to leave because it would mean abandoning a desperate person. The sixth benefit is that, what was that, number 6? I think I shared the 6th. So the 7th benefit is that despair justifies indulging in addictive but momentarily pleasurable behaviors and actions and activities, but that are long-term very, very self-destructive to us. You know, so drug and alcohol abuse, for instance. And finally, the last side benefit is that despair, especially when it comes with the threat of suicide, despair is a way to dominate other people who feel basically they're afraid to upset the desperate person, so they walk on eggshells. Did I miss one? I might have missed one. Oh, I did. I did miss one. Okay. The last one, I was just thinking of all 8 here. So the last one is despair. How can I put it? Despair is a way of punishing other people. So it's very similar in this way. It's a way of punishing other people who feel like they have to help, and yet they fail to help. So they end up feeling that they're doing something wrong. So these are the benefits. Now, I want you to think about it. If you're watching this, on Facebook, or if you're watching this on YouTube, if you're suffering from depression, or if you know somebody who is, see if you can't identify which side benefits you're receiving from the pattern, from this emotional pattern. Typically, when I work with somebody, they realize at least 3 or 4 of them. Sometimes all 8. I've had people realize all 8. So go through them and see which ones you actually benefit from. There's so much you can do when it comes to despair and depression to move through it. And again, it's coming from my own experience with it, my experience working with so many people around it. One of the first most powerful steps is an understanding of what we get out of it. Every single negative emotional pattern actually has a positive benefit, a positive intent to it. So if we can understand what we're getting out of it, unconsciously, not purposefully, not intentionally, it's not a way to make us more wrong for being depressed. A lot of people feel guilty for being depressed even. But it's a way of understanding, hey, that this is operationally what I get out of it. How can I elevate that? That would be the next step. And so there's actually 2 things I'm going to get you to do if you're for yourself or to help somebody else, if you're not already. Some people watching this will already be a part of it. Some people won't be. But if you haven't yet, step 1, because I'm going to share, like I say, strategies, methodologies, and so on and so forth as we go forward. But step 1, you're going to find it in the description on Facebook or on YouTube. I want you to, if you haven't already, click to apply to my Facebook group. The difference between the page and the group is that the page, I'm going to share these strategies. In the group, I'm going to work with you one-on-one, again, just a half hour per week, with the exception of holidays. But I'm going to work with you one-on-one, and so there might be 1 person, 2 people, 3 people, there might be 4 people, 5 people that show up for half an hour around your very specific questions, challenges, etc. So you get even if you're not a client yet, or at least not presently, you actually get to be coached one-on-one in that group. So that's kind of a really cool piece that I'm bringing into the group, along with some other things that we're doing. So if you haven't yet, there's a link on the side, a link in the description. You can click to apply to the group. I'd love to see you in there. There's some really amazing, powerful, and beautiful people in there that are looking for peak performance, that are looking for improved relationships, looking for leadership, but also looking to overcome things. And so it's very like-minded. I'd love to have you guys in there. So that's number 1. Click on that link to the group. I hope to see you in there. Number 2, again, if you haven't done this, some people watching this might have already, some people haven't. But if you haven't, again, a link in the description on Facebook and on YouTube. I'm recording both. Howard, it's awesome to see you on here. I'd love to actually talk with you live at some point. It's been so long, my friend. Very cool. So Eric, I see a couple of people on here live. Eric's on here, Howard's on here. I'm really glad to see you guys. But the second thing I want you to do is, if you haven't yet, go to, again, links in the description, go and download your copy of the first ebook. It's the first out of 12 that I've written that I use with my clients to create change. It's called Becoming Extraordinary. And basically it's a workbook, and I like people, when I work with people one-on-one, we spend 1 month per workbook, so an entire year going through these things. Awesome, Howard. I look forward to it. And in the workbook, the very first one, again, this is free. This is just here for you to use. Even if you never work with me as a client, doesn't really matter. but it's there to help you uncover beliefs that are supportive of where you want to go in life and beliefs that are hindering you. It's there to help you understand not just your goals, but your bigger vision. So, how I talked about that compelling future and purpose and meaning, it's there to help you develop that, and then to help you create the actions that will move you in that direction. Along with that, it talks about mindfulness and the practice of presence. So, four key pieces, and again, exercises around them to help you move forward. So if you haven't downloaded that, go do that. If you have downloaded, make sure you go back through your workbook. We've got the new year right around the corner. Good time to do it, you guys. If you want some help, come apply to the group if you're not already in there. I know Eric is. But come into the group and there'll be live one-on-one coaching. You have a few minutes each if it's several people. If it's just you that shows up on a Friday, so that's on the Fridays. The page will normally be on a Monday that they do the live session. And we'll go from there. And then if you end up working with me one-on-one, that'd be terrific as well. So you guys, if you have questions about the 8 benefits, please feel free to get a hold of me. I went through them pretty quick, but I hope you're making notes. Again, if you're watching the replay of this on Facebook or on YouTube, you'll be able to stop and pause it and go back. If you're in the group, come and ask me questions about it. I'm happy to help any way I can. So with that, you guys, I'm going to get off here live, and I will see you. So on the page, the Facebook, the Ollin group page, I will see you next Monday, 9:30. If you're in the group, I'll see you tomorrow. Tomorrow's Friday? Yeah, tomorrow's Friday at 9:30 for a live Q&A coaching session. So with that, you guys, I want to thank you guys for being here. I hope those 8 benefits that a light bulb went on for you somewhere in there, that you were able to see, oh wow, that is what I do, or that is what so and so does over here. So with that, you guys, I'm here to support you any way I can, and I look forward to seeing you either tomorrow or next Monday. Hopefully, we'll talk to you soon.